Hello there. Welcome. My name is Daistte, and today I'll be showing you how to make an iron generator. There we go. Let's transition to that. This right here is the iron generator I'm talking about. Doesn't look that exciting, you know, it has some moving parts, but other than that, it's just another create contraption. Now, what's so good about this? Well, if we were to go over to the other side here, we can see that this lovely sign, there we go, sorry I haven't played Minecraft for a bit, but this lovely sign here says that this thing uses 10,720 stress units and it produces 1k iron per hour. And yeah, pretty neat, pretty compact. Yeah, so this machine has two parts. The first part of this machine is this top half here. Well, not really top half, just everything encased here, and then this really long item vault. This whole thing over here is a cobblestone generator. If you look on the screen, I'll provide a link to this person's website, well not website, sorry, video, who I took the cobblestone generator from. They'll explain it more in depth, but essentially, putting into simple words, this generates cobblestone. What more what more explanation do you need? So yeah, this thing generates the cobblestone, and then the cobblestone comes out of these two brass funnels, which feeds the cobblestone into these crushing wheels, which then go into these chutes, right? But these chutes are have a glass block underneath, or a solid block underneath. So the items just stay inside the chute, and then while gravel is just being pumped into there, we have this brass funnel, two brass funnels again, which get washed. The gravel goes out, gets washed, and goes into this brass funnel where only flint and iron ingots are allowed. Iron nuggets, sorry. And from there, the flint gets thrown out as we're not using it for anything. And the iron nuggets, oh my god, get placed into here, the basin. And as you can see, I've the schematic, okay, let's talk about the schematic. The schematic will include a frog port and a packager, a lever, and a spruce sign. So you'll need to calibrate the, you'll need to calibrate the frog port. You'll need to calibrate the frog port so that it actually goes onto this chain conveyor, which is also included in the schematic. So you won't have to worry about that. And then you'll have to change the name of this sign to your item vault storage system. So let's get to my setup, which is all the way over there. So as you can see, this is essentially the same stuff, but behind here there's no other sign, and this sign here is connected to my storage system, item vault storage system, to store 2, and this has a bunch of iron, as you can see, and this lever is also on. Yeah, I guess now all that's to do is just to build it, really. But before we do that, I will say I will be, if I do miss some steps, I'm sorry. I'll probably clarify them later into the video, so there'll be like texts throughout. And yeah. Hey, post-production Daistte here. I forgot to give you guys the items needed. So here are the items needed. Pause and collect the items, please, or just use the schematic. Both work. See ya. Alright, let's get to building. So we're gonna start over here. So we're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 block space in the front here, and then from over here, the 5th block from the left, we're going to go 2 blocks forwards and place 2 glass. Then we're going to make a 2x2 item vault, which extends to its max limit, which is around 6 volts long. Well, I didn't say that right, but still. Then we're going to add hoppers on top of this. So the first row is just going to feed into the item vault. The second row, same thing. The third row is going to feed into the second row of hoppers. if I can. There we go. And now we're basically done. But before we continue on, we are going to encase these hoppers in glass. These glass are when you're using mods to gather glass, right? It's pretty easy, especially if you have like a vein miner mod, which you can just like FTB ultimine. You can basically just, you know, vein mine sand or anything you want to. Then after that, you can just create a bulk smelting contraption, and it only takes like what, a few seconds to do that. I mean, you only have to wait a few seconds for it to smelt. So yeah, then after that we are going to add our windmill sail frames. Forgot that you can do this, so I can just stay here and then place all these. Alright, now after that we are going to add our mechanical pumps facing into these windmill sails. Then afterwards we are going to encase them again. And now once we have like this, once we have the encasing like 4 blocks tall, what we're going to do is that we're not going to add these, what are these called again? Fluid tanks yet. What we're going to do is that we're going to diagonally add our water sources. So what we do is we go diagonally like this. That becomes a source block. You can, if you're in survival, you can pick this water source block up and then place it over here, which then everything here in a 3x3 area becomes a source block. Then we can do it again and we're done. Now after that, we're going to place our fluid tanks. And in survival, you will need to like have a mechanical pump going into jeez, whoa, why am I lagging so badly? Into the fluid tanks, and then you're gonna need to have like a cog, and then a mechanical hand crank, and then the thing you use to place lava or just fluids inside. Then that'll turn and feed into the fluid tank. Being creative, you're just gonna place it in like that directly. But if you watched the video that I told you to beforehand, it would have explained that to you, so congratulations, you watched that video. Now we're going to move on to our next part, where we're going to take a threshold switch, a minecart, cot assembler, a solid block, and then a lever. You're also going to need a rail. A normal rail will do just fine. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to put the threshold switch up here on the top right, then mine 2 blocks up. Then we're going to place a rail on top of the threshold switch, so remember to shift and then place, and then we're going to add a cot assembler, and in that cot assembler we're going to place a minecart, and then on top of that cot assembler andesite casing, and then a lever. Alright, on to step 2, part 1 of this section. We are going to go at the front now. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to break these two, and these two. And then we're over here, we're going to add a vertical gearbox, and then we're going to add a clutch over here. Post Daistte here, remember to put a lever on the clutch. Then underneath here, underneath the clutch, we're going to add a shaft. And then right next to the shaft, underneath the vertical gearbox, we're going to add a mechanical press. Then we're going to take 4 encased chain drives, place 2 facing towards the clutch and the shaft, and then one underneath, and then the third one underneath, facing with the item vault, and then the 4th one facing like the top 2. Like that. Then before we continue on, we're going to add a vertical gearbox over here, and then we're going to add a chain conveyor on top of that. Then now we can move on to this part here, where we will need a rotational speed controller, and it's pretty easy to get if you just speed run into the nether, get like 1 or 2 what are they called, quartz, and then you can just sand it down, make refined quartz or something. I forgot, haven't played this in 2 months, but You can speedrun it. We're gonna place one here, then we're gonna set it to like below 6 or 6. Then over here we are going to add a large cogwheel, and then you're going to need to shift for this, add a small cogwheel like that, and after that we're going to need a vertical gearbox placed like that, and then on top of that vertical gearbox we are going to place a cogwheel like that so that it attaches to the fluid pumps. To make this all look pretty, we're going to grab an andesite casing and we're going to encase these cogwheels here just to make everything solid. And this shaft, part 2, step 2, I guess. What we're going to do now is we're going to make the crushing wheel system. So what we're going to do is that we're going to place a crushing wheel on the on the bottommost encased chain drive. And then next to that crushing wheel, we're going to add another crushing wheel. Then next to that crushing wheel, we're going to add another crushing wheel. Next to that crushing wheel, we're going to add another crushing wheel. And then in the middle of these two crushing wheels, we're going to add a brass funnel going out. Set this to up to exactly 64. And then to these next two, we're going to add another brass funnel. Make sure to set that to the same setting as that. Now what we're going to need to do down here is that we're going to need to add glass like this, going along like this. Yep, and then we are going to need chutes, and then we're going to place chutes underneath these two crushing wheels, and then these two crushing wheels, well, just under these brass funnels really. Then what we're going to do with these chutes is that we're going to add brass funnels again, facing out, set them as well to 64. And then I think we're done. Nope, we are not done. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a 3x3 item vault over here. And then we're going to add another brass funnel, except this time it's going in to the item vault here. And now we're done with item vaults. So we're going to pretty this up a little bit just before we continue on. So what we're going to do is that we're going to shift, place these here. Well, we don't have to shift actually. Just realized that. Placed framed glass trapdoors. Then now we're going to need to shift. And then we're going to place them like this. Place another row. Like that. And then now we're going to move on and place an encased chain drive facing, well, facing towards here, facing into this 3x3 item vault. And then we're going to add 3 encased chain drives just like this. And then what we're going to do here is that we are going to add a vertical gearboxes facing into these crushing wheels, these 3 crushing wheels. And then what we're going to do now is that we are going to have vertical gearboxes facing like this into this encased chain drive, so just like that. And then we're going to add shafts. What's happening here is that this encased chain drive is powering this, so that this powers the crushing wheels, and then this over here connects to these chain drives, which this powers the encased fan. And then we're basically done with this part of this step of part 2, and let's move on to the final step. Alright, now we're going to be at the front here, and what we're going to do is that we are going to place a brass funnel over here. We're going to place this. Can I please set this without having to, hold on a sec, I need freehand. We are going to set this to exactly to 32 stacks, 32 items. And then underneath here we're going to place a cauldron. Then over here we are going to place another brass funnel coming out, and we're going to set this, if it allows me to, we're going to set this to up to 32 as well. And underneath that we are going to place a basin. Underneath that basin we're going to add a smart chute. Underneath that smart chute we are going to add 2 chests, and then on top of that chest we are going to add a packager, and then on top of that packager we're going to add a frog port, but ensure to calibrate it to, well, not calibrate, but like set it to lick this chain conveyor, and then plop it on top of this packager, and then name it whatever you'd like. Then over here in front we are going to shift, place a lever, and then we're going to add a spruce sign, or any sort of sign really, and I don't know, insert the name of your item vault storage, and we're essentially done. Now it's just the calibration and everything. So we're going to go back to the side here. We're going to open these two up. We are going to set these brass funnels to filter only gravel, like so. And then this one going into the 3x3 item vault, we're going to have a list filter which only allows iron nuggets and flint, so set that to the allow list. Set that to the allow list and make sure it's not the deny list, so allow list. Put it in there, and then so we can close these two. But over here we're going to waterlog this brass funnel, because to, you know, wash the gravel that gets poured out here. And now, yep, here we go. Almost forgot, over here in this brass funnel, the brass funnel that's hidden, we're gonna filter that so they only output, what are these called? Iron nuggets. And then this one only outputs here, brass funnels, flint. And then we're gonna fill this cauldron with lava. And then under here, what we're gonna do is that we're going to place just iron on the smart chute, and I forgot to calibrate this, and so set this to exactly, well, however many you want, because what's going to happen is that the iron's going to land in this chest, and say if it's just 1 iron per, right? What's going to happen is that this frog port is going to be just sending the iron one by one as the iron enters the chest, if it is just 1 iron. If you just set this to like just 1, or like any. So yeah, you can calibrate this however you'd want, but I'm just going to put 10. So every 10 iron that's generated and put into this chest, this little buddy here will just spew it out and then go into our item vault storage. And that's basically it. Now, I would like to say that sometimes this machine will have certain problems, so let me try to show you what I mean by that. So say it's just ongoing, right? And say you don't want to produce any iron and you just want to generate cobblestone. If you flick this lever, and then, okay, well, it's not showing up, but if you stop that, and then for some reason while this is on, right, it stops and there's only cobblestone like this, like what it's doing now. To fix this, you just need to switch this on again. Then you're going to switch this on and off, and it'll work again just fine. Be sure to set your threshold switch, and that's about it. So just in case you freak out over that, yeah, it's a simple fix. It's easy, and that's about it. Yeah. Hey there, thanks for watching till the end. Why don't you give this video a like and then subscribe for more of this maybe, if you want to. But other than that, next time I make a video like this again, I'll try to whip up a script, because this time I was scriptless. So yeah, I'm an artist. I'll probably leave my Instagram down in the description as well, so if you'd like to see art, then go there. If you don't and you just want to see more Minecraft content, then just subscribe, eh? Hit the notification in case I do post again in the near future, hopefully. And that's about it from me. I'm Daistte. I've been nice. Thank you. That's about it. Bye.